Hello everybody and a very warm welcome to my channel. It's Nikki here. This video was made for the third Saturday Art Hop, and this event is hosted by Martha I Love to Paint, also known as Ayala Art, and ably assisted by the lovely Mona Creates. All links to the other creators' videos will be in the description box below this video and pinned to the top comment as well if you can't find where the description box is. So my piece of art today is a little art journal page. It's a bit doodly and that because I'm concentrating more on the words that I have to say, and because this is all about Matariki. So this will be a little explanation, and I really do apologise to my Maori friends and to my Greek friends for my pronunciation of the words. I will try very hard to pronounce them correctly, but I know that I will make mistakes, so please do forgive me. So in Maori culture, Matariki is both the name of the Pleiades star cluster and of the celebration of its first rising in late June or early July. This marks the beginning of the new year in the Maori lunar calendar. Matariki was made an official public holiday this year in April, and this year we are celebrating the very first public holiday of Matariki. So in my drawing here you will see that I have represented the rivers or the seas, oceans, so earth, sky, water. You know, the green bit is the land. But it will be like a little doodly representation of what I'm talking about now. So Matariki is a shortened version of the Nā Mata o Te Ariki o Te Whiri Matia, or the eyes of the god Te Whiri Matia. According to Maori mythology, Te Whiri Matia is the god of wind and weather, and he was enraged by the separation of the heaven and the earth, his parents, which is Ranganui, which is Father Sky, and Papatuanuku, Mother Earth. Defeated in battle by his brother, Te Whiri Matia fled to the sky to live with Ranganui, but in his anger he first plucked out his own eyes as a gesture of contempt towards his siblings and flung them into the sky, where they remain today, stuck to his father's chest. In Maori tradition, the unpredictability of the winds are blamed on Te Whiri Matia's blindness. Matariki is sometimes incorrectly translated as Matariki or Little Eyes. And the word Matariki is the name of both the star cluster and one of the stars within it. The other terms for the cluster as a whole include Te Tautari Nui o Matariki and Te Hui Hui o Matariki. So Matariki fixed in the heavens, or the assembly of Matariki. So what I'm going to do now is, so the 9 stars of Matariki are Matariki, female, and Matariki is responsible for well-being and health. Tupu Arangi is male and is responsible for food that comes from above. Tupu Onuku is female and is responsible for food that grows in the soil. Uru Rangi is male and is responsible for the winds. Waipuna Arangi is female and is responsible for rainwater. Hiwa Iti Rangi is female and is responsible for growth and prosperity. Waiti is female and is responsible for fresh water. Waita is male and is responsible for the ocean. And Pahutakawa is female and is responsible for the deceased. The star Pahutakawa's association with the departed relates to the lone Pahutakawa tree at Taringa Wairua, or Cape Reinga. And Cape Reinga is the departing place for the spirits of the deceased as they return to the ancestral home of Hawaii. Mourning the deceased is one of the components of the Matariki celebration. So Matariki was an occasion to mourn the deceased, celebrate the present, and prepare the ground for the coming year. The celebration had 3 parts: viewing the stars, remembering the deceased, and making offering of food to the stars. This time of the year was also a good time to instruct young people on the law of the land and the forest. In addition, certain birds and fish were associated with Matariki to Tuhoi. It marked the beginning of the season where keriru, or the native pigeon, could be captured, cooked and preserved in its own fat, and the rise of Matariki corresponded with the return of koro from the sea to spawn in the rivers. Because of the frequent poor weather in winter, the viewing of Matariki was spread across the 3 or 4 nights of Tangaroa to increase the chance of the stars would be seen clearly. The first clear night marked the beginning of the festivities when Matariki reappeared. Maori would look to its stars for a forecast of the coming season's prosperity, and if they shone clear and bright, the remaining winter would be warm, but hazy or twinkling stars predicted bad weather in the season ahead. The colour, brightness and distinctiveness of each star in Matariki would be assessed and forecasts made according to each of their associations. For example, if Tupu Arangi did not shine clearly, then hunters would expect to poor catch of birds in the coming season. Pahutakawa was linked to the deceased, so its brightness would signal how many people were likely to pass away in the coming year. These predictions were made by Tuhunga Kokorangi, learned elders who had studied and debated for many years in a whare Kokorangi, or House of Astronomical Learning. After the forecasts of the year had been read from the stars, the deceased were invoked with tears and song in a ceremony called Te Taki Moteatea, the reciting of the laments. The names of everyone who had died since Matariki's last rising were recited. Traditionally, Maori believed that the spirits of the dead were collected during the year, and the setting of Matariki in the month of Hautara, they were led into the afterlife. On the rising of Matariki at the start of the year, the deceased of the past year were carried up from the underworld and cast up into the night sky to become stars, accompanied by prayers and the recitation of their names. Beginning the mourning for the previous year's departed at Matariki is still reflected in modern Maori mourning practices. An important part of the celebration was whangai I te hautapu, a ceremonial offering of food to the stars. The reasoning was that Matariki, after shepherding the spirits of the dead from the underworld and turning back the sun from the winter solstice, would be weak and in need of sustenance. A small hangi or earth oven was built with heated stones in a pit, which was placed food, a layer of leaves and earth. The uncovering of the cooked food released steam, which rose into the sky and fed the stars, the steam being hautapu or sacred offering. The food was chosen to correspond with the domains of the stars in Matariki, and this might include kumara for tupu anuku, a bird for tupu arangi, freshwater fish for waiti, and shellfish for waiata. The offering of food was the final part of the ceremony, which ended at sunrise. The Matariki ceremony was followed by festivities of song, dance and feasting, known as Te Matahai o Te Tau, the fruits of the year, celebrating the prosperity and the promises of the year to come. With the colonisation of New Zealand by Pakeha settlers in the 19th century, many traditional practices began to decline. Some aspects of Matariki were incorporated into new religious traditions, such as the Ringatu Church, but its traditional celebration had almost ceased by the early 20th century, and the last of the traditional Matariki celebrations were recorded in the late 1940s. The revival of the celebration of Matariki can be traced back to the early 1990s, sparked by various Maori iwi and organisations such as the Museum of New Zealand Te Papa Tongarewa. Te Rangi Hotau of Ngāti Kahungunu began in 2000, an annual Matariki celebration in Hastings, which attracted 500 people, and which reached 15,000 in 2001. And in 2001, the Maori Language Commission began to move to reclaim Matariki, or Aotearoa Pacific New Year, as an important focus for Maori language regeneration. In 2016, Te Wangana o Aotearoa, promoted a new vision of Matariki in a month-long roadshow called Te Iwi o Matariki. Te Iwa o Matariki, Iwa being Maori for 9, stressing the 9 stars recognised by some iwi. Since then, it has become increasingly common practice for people, Maori and non-Maori, and institutions such as schools, libraries and city councils to celebrate Matariki in a range of ways. The celebrations have taken place over a period of a week or a month, anywhere from early June to late August, but increasingly it coincides with the winter solstice or the dates of Matariki. So I hope you enjoyed this little insight into our public holiday in New Zealand this year, for the very first year. Just wishing a happy Matariki to all my Maori friends and my Pakeha friends. And just, I want to say, wherever you are on your journey in life, please do travel safely. Let's all get together this Matariki, remember our loved ones, and celebrate with our whānau. And just have a really, really nice time. So, kia ora from me, and see you all again very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.